Infinix is a phone manufacturer which you might not know about, but in certain regions of the world they're pretty popular. This is their latest flagship phone, the Infinix Zero X Pro. Can it give more well-known flagships a run for their money? I'm Will for GSM Arena, and let's find out in our full review. The Infinix Zero X Pro definitely has looks that stand out from the crowd, at least in this nebula black finish. The starry pattern is quite distinctive and eye-catching. Looking closer, you see that the rough-looking texture actually lies under a flat, smooth glass surface. There's no word on the type of glass and how much protection it provides, and there's no official ingress protection either. The flat frame is plastic, though it does its best to look like metal. And the camera module is huge, which hints at this device's more camera-centric nature. On the front is a 6.67-inch AMOLED panel with a super fast 120Hz refresh rate, a 1080p resolution, and a punch hole for the selfie camera. These kind of high refresh rate AMOLEDs are what you'll find on flagship grade devices, and we appreciate that you get one here. It smooths out your swiping and scrolling, and it's even adaptive down to 60Hz in some apps to save power. The screen looks crisp overall, and you get the deep blacks of an AMOLED, but the quality isn't up to the level of more expensive flagships. The max brightness is just 515 nits, and that might not be enough for comfy reading on a sunny day. There's no official HDR support, and you don't get options to tweak the colors, which aren't too accurate out of the box. Something you do get under the display though is a fingerprint reader for your biometrics. It's snappy and easy to use. The Infinix Zero X Pro has a 3.5mm jack for headphones, which is always welcome, and there's FM radio support too. There's a single bottom firing speaker, no stereo setup here. It measured just average for loudness on our charts, and the mids and highs are lacking, though you can make up for those at least with the audio equalizer options.
I'm wide awake, but you're a nightmare.
The phone's interface is Infinix's XOS 7.6 based on Android 11. This is far from a light skin. It comes loaded with plenty of pre-installed apps and a whole bunch of proprietary features. These include things like magazine service that automatically updates your wallpaper, and folders that organize icons on your home screen by default. You can find even more features within this special functions panel. And there are a bunch of settings to customize the appearance of the UI too. The Infinix Zero X Pro has plenty of space on board for your apps and media. There's the option for 128 or 256 gigs, and that's expandable through microSD. And the battery life is quite respectable. There's a 4500 mAh power pack here, and the Zero X Pro was able to score a great endurance rating of 119 hours in our battery life tests. There's support for 45-watt charging, and it's quite speedy with the bundled adapter. We were able to charge the phone from 0 to 76% in half an hour. The Zero X Pro has a Mediatek Helio G95 chipset built upon a 12nm process, and performance is quite good for a mid-range phone. In CPU benchmarks, the Zero X Pro sits solid in the middle of the charts, and it looks even better in graphics tests, squeezing out numbers you wouldn't expect from this sort of hardware. The phone manages heat surprisingly well too. Another thing you'd think wouldn't be possible with this hardware is support for a 108-megapixel camera, but somehow Infinix has found a way to make it work. There are 3 cameras on the back, that 108-megapixel 9-in-1 main cam, an 8-megapixel 5x zoom periscope telephoto cam, and an 8-megapixel ultra-wide camera. All of the cameras have autofocus. The main camera's photos come out in 12 megapixels by default, and they're decent, but not particularly impressive. Colors look natural and true to life, and dynamic range is okay. But the level of detail is just acceptable. Not what you'd expect from this type of sensor. And foliage comes out looking soft. Portraits from the main cam are okay. The subject detection and separation can be decent, but is inconsistent. 5x zoomed photos from the telephoto are pretty impressive overall. There's more than enough detail without the softness of the main camera. Colors look natural and the dynamic range is decent. The ultra-wide cam's 8-megapixel shots are underwhelming. They have good detail and natural colors, but they're noisy and dynamic range is limited. The exposure is inconsistent from shot to shot too. Since there's autofocus, the ultra-wide can take macro close-up shots. These look good, with plenty of detail and balanced colors. Just like during the day, nighttime photos from the main cam are decent, but nothing too impressive. There's good detail, but some visible softness, and some smeary patches from time to time. There is a dedicated night mode, but just for the main camera. It does a good job in restoring the shadows and highlights, and the smeary bits are taken care of too. You do get a lot more sharpening though. The telephoto cam struggles in low light, producing photos that are dark and underexposed. Low light ultra-wide photos aren't too bad though. You don't notice those exposure issues so much that you get during the day. Selfies from the 16 megapixel front-facing cam have an excellent level of detail, and colors which match those from the main cam pretty well. Dynamic range is okay too. One feature you don't see too often is an LED flash for the selfie cam. These LEDs work as intended, but the effect can be a bit harsh at times. You can capture 4K video with the main cam and 1080p video with the telephoto and ultra-wide cams, but audio capture is always in mono, not stereo, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Audio quality aside, footage from the main cam is solid, with a lot of detail and low noise. Colors look saturated, and dynamic range could be a bit wider, but it's not a big deal. Footage from the telephoto at 5x zoom looks great, with plenty of detail. But the quality from the ultra-wide leaves more to be desired. The clips are soft and noisy, with limited dynamic range. So that's the Infinix Zero X Pro. It's the company's flagship, but price-wise it's more of a mid-ranger. And for this money, it's nice to get a high refresh rate AMOLED and a versatile camera setup with a high-res main cam. The chipset performance is good, the phone is nice to look at, and there's good battery life and fast charging. There are some shortcomings though. The screen isn't too bright or color accurate. You only get a single speaker, and the camera quality doesn't blow us away. And it's not just about the budget, as there are competitors at this price which can offer more. Overall, if you're a fan of Infinix, this is a decent phone, but if you're after the most bang for your buck, it might be worth shopping around. Thanks for watching guys, stay safe and see you on the next one.